I get a lot of questions about strength training on the channel, and a lot of people understand the benefit of doing something like a squat, right? But I know that a lot of times with jiu-jitsu practitioners, they have a lot of different hang-ups with a squat that are caused from jiu-jitsu. One of it, which is being the hips are too tight sometimes. Like I've seen a lot of my guys when they come over to train on this side of our gym, they'll have a squat that looks about like that because their hips are so tight from training for years, in lifestyle also. And then another thing is that a lot of jiu-jitsu practitioners will say, man, my lower back, right? You hear this all the time. Lower back issues are something in jiu-jitsu that you have to be wary of because it's a common problem because of one, a rounding back, the tight hips that create pressure in the lower back, and just a number of different things. So I wanted to show you guys this piece of equipment that we recently got into the gym. It's a great piece of equipment if you can get access to one that in your local gym. We bought one for the gym because we wanted it. It's called a belt squat machine, right? There's different variations. They might look a little differently, but the mechanics are still the same. And I'm going to tell you guys why this is a great piece of equipment to use if you're training jiu-jitsu, really anyone, but if you're training jiu-jitsu and you want to get stronger legs and all that stuff, why this is a good piece of equipment. So the way that it works, basically is you have a belt of some sort, right? And there's all kinds of different like harnesses and stuff that people use, but you've got a belt that goes into two pulleys, right? So you got a pulley down here, and then it goes through, and then you have a pulley here, and the weight connects down here and goes through. Now, why this is so beneficial to jiu-jitsu guys, I'll put the belt on so the clanging will stop, is first off, when we get in, one of the beneficial properties of it is that there's no what we would call axial loading. There's no loading on my spine. So again, people with lower back issues, there's no loading on top of the spine. My discs are not being crunched together, right? So I'm able to sit here, and it honestly kind of feels good. If you've got tight hips from jiu-jitsu, you can kind of just sit here and just like let it sort of draw things down. Another thing is that, again, a lot of jiu-jitsu guys that I've seen, like when they first come over here to do like weight training, they'll have a squat that's like they can't really get down. One of the benefits from this thing is that when we squat down, we have this pull, this machine pulling us down. And again, you can get down there and hang as low or as high as you want to, but you can let the machine just pull you down, and you could sit there if you wanted to help improve the squat. Now, another thing is that you have these little handles, which you have to pull back most often to sort of remove the pin here. But this can be helpful because another thing that I see from a lot of jiu-jitsu guys because of a tight, like psoas and their tight hip flexors is they lean really far forward when they try to squat. And so this can be a really helpful machine to, as you squat down, to keep more upright posture and then come up, right? Which is beneficial because again, if you do a regular back squat later on, you don't want to be leaning forward all the time and putting more stress in the lower back. So you can get in here and you can squat down, get a good squat and come back up, and make sure that if you guys use it, don't forget that. I know it seems so small, but really focus on squeezing the butt together at the end because that little motion there is helpful to, again, strengthening the extension of the hip flexors, right? So in jiu-jitsu, we're always in this sort of like bent position, right? We want to make sure that we're strengthening this motion. Another benefit, guys, is that you can try different feet placements here where you can sort of get into a position where you feel most comfortable to do the squat. Unlike, a lot of times with different barbells and stuff like that, you really have to lock yourself into one position. So another thing, guys, is that, there's a lot of exercises, I'm not gonna get into them today, but that you can do hip extension with, right? And the reason why this is important is because, if I'm laying on my back inside of a guard, I'm always in hip flexion, right? And the problem with that is that creates a tightness in the muscle and the hip flexors link into the lower back. So a lot of lower back issues are created by the fact that we have these hip flexors are too tight. So if we strengthen them, right, like by extending, right, that's going to be helpful. So this is a great piece of machinery, great piece of equipment. If you guys can get access to one, check your local gym. Typically you can call them. Some of you guys might have one, and not know what it is. I know that for the first time I actually saw one, I was like, what is that? Like, what do you do with it? And then I started using it. I was like, man, this is amazing. Last thing, and I'll throw this out there again, I'm pretty hyper from finishing up my own lift, is if you guys use this piece of machinery, use this equipment for the first time, go light, right? Again, a lot of guys, as soon as they start using some sort of like particular weight training machine or like a type of like weight training, whatever it is, they want to start slapping on the weight, more weight, more weight. You would be better served by starting really, really light and focusing on the quality of the movement first and then incrementally work up. A lot of jiu-jitsu guys, they develop muscular imbalances, and so essentially what happens is you have one part of the muscular system that's turned on too much and the other part is turned off. So basically one part will dominate everything. And so what happens is you get these weird like muscular patterns where they're not working like they should, the muscles aren't firing. And so when you do an exercise like this where you can get into maybe a better squat position and really get low, you might notice that your glutes start to fire on. You might notice that your hamstrings start to turn on a little bit more than just your quads, right? You might have these other muscles start to get sore or get more fatigued because they're starting to wake up. So start slower so you can sort of strengthen those muscles, because what you might find is it may not be just a pure stretching issue. You might find that as you develop the strength and that quality of movement, right? So instead of just doing more weight and doing like a little piss poor squat like this, you really put, focus on that quality of that movement. Over time, you might find that you get lower and lower and lower into your squat, and it feels better and better because the muscles that are needed to maintain a better squat are being built up. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. So I wanted to share that with you guys. This is a great piece of machinery. If you can get your hands on one, definitely play around with it a bit. And if you guys ever come in to train with me at the gym, you can come over here with Joe and you guys can use it as well. So, all right guys, hope this video is helpful to you. Talk to you next time.